Looking back, I know that I was changing. I was becoming someone new in a private, personal way, but in a very public setting. And I struggled to figure out how to be authentic in that season. And it showed in my podcast episodes, it showed in my social media presence, which is where my business primarily takes place. A lot of you came on quite a ride with me. And as I begin another trip around the sun, I just want to thank you for that. I think I've created the deepest connections on social media because I shared as honestly as I could while still respecting the privacy of my husband and of my marriage. We are constantly looking for ways to elevate our life together. And that requires us to embrace the highs and the lows and see the blessings and lessons in both of them, right? So my life will never, ever be a collage of perfectly curated little squares. I'm so much more than that. We are so much more than that.
Are you ready to take your life to new heights? I'm Erica, host of the Elevate with Erica podcast. This podcast isn't just about listening. I get real with y'all. Stories from my past, things I'm currently going through, good, bad, and all the in between, so that we can take action together and step into our power. From mindset shifts to practical tips, we cover it all. So whether you're struggling with self-doubt, seeking clarity, or simply hungry for inspiration, Elevate with Erica is going to be your go-to resource. So if you're ready to break free from limitations, ignite your passions, and create a life you love, then hit that subscribe button and join my community of dreamers, doers, and difference makers. Together, let's elevate. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while or receiving my newsletters, then you know I am a big fan of Flowdesk. If you haven't heard of Flowdesk before, it's a beautiful, intuitive email marketing tool that I use to consistently email my list. Before I signed up for Flowdesk, I rarely sent out newsletters, and I wasn't leveraging email marketing to its full potential in my business. I struggled to find a tool that was easy to use with customizable designs that helped me stay true to my brand. But once I decided to move to Flowdesk, the difference it made in my business was huge. Since signing up over 3 years ago, I've sent countless emails. It's become a vital tool for me to market my business and make money. Here are some of the top reasons I love using it. First, it's really intuitive and easy to use. They have tons of beautiful templates that give me a starting point and ensure my emails look great on all devices. I can load my brand elements like my logo, colors, and fonts so that each email looks consistent and on brand. And it's so easy to create subscriber segments through Flowdesk's opt-in forms, which helps me organize my list and send my subscribers hyper-personalized content based on their interests. They also have a brilliant analytics tool, which tells me really useful information about my subscribers and how they're interacting with my emails. There are so many things I love about using Flowdesk, but one of the best parts is that I can have unlimited emails and subscribers for one flat rate forever. If you wanna check it out, you can head to my link in the show notes, which will give you 50% off your first year. Flowdesk has definitely been one of the tools that has had the biggest impact on my marketing, and I can't wait for you to check it out.
Hey friends, and thank you for joining me again for another episode here on Elevate with Erica. So I turned 39 this past week. Of course, I just think that birthdays offer us this opportunity to reflect back on the past year, much like when a new year comes. And I have to say that this time around, my reflection back was a little tougher to look back on. But I think to go forward, it's important that we do. Otherwise, it's so easy to miss the lessons in the struggle and also the growth that you've made in that struggle. And most importantly, which is what we're going to talk about today, maybe you'll even see why the struggle was necessary to get to what came next or what is coming next for you. And it wasn't many episodes ago when I said that I was working on my way to thanking my pain that led to my pit in July of 2023. Honestly, I thought it would take a few years for me to be able to do that, and I was good with that. I was showing myself some grace there. I think getting over something emotionally painful is a personal journey. No one can tell you when you should be over it, when to stop bringing it up, when you need to move on. There's parts of that journey that that are just so personal and they can't be rushed. And there's things that we need to feel our way through, and feeling takes time. And it's not something to be pushed out of. So, we're such complex people, right? I mean, who we are today is because of everything that we've each individually gone through, in the way that we were raised, in the people that have come in and out of our lives, in the way that we personally experience different milestones in our life and different events in the world. All of these things affect the way that we think and show up in the world today. So all of those things also affect the way that we hold on to things that we go through, the way we work through pain, and the way in which we release that pain too. So for me, I thought it was going to take me a lot longer to be grateful that I went through that pain to get me to where I am headed today, where my marriage is headed today, my family, my career redirection, even. But something about that reflection, turning 39, led me to do, it gave me so much clarity. Like, I know that the work my husband and I have done together and individually allowed me to be open to that kind of clarity too, where I was not ready for that just a few short months ago. It kind of cleared the fog off my glasses, so to speak. I realized that the pain wasn't just about me. Because when we're hurt, it's really easy to mix up self pity with self compassion, right? It's easy to get stuck in feeling sorry for yourself and wallowing in that poor me mentality, right? So, yes, I had a little bit of self pity. I had like a self pity party, maybe, after the events of this past year. I've been confronted with three of the hardest challenges of my life. And I just couldn't understand in the thick of it all why all this was happening to me. I was doing well in my business before all that. Things were starting to compound. I felt a real sense of forward moving progress in that area of my life for the first time since having to leave my government job in 2020. And then it felt like something just came through and shifted my entire foundation to the point where nothing felt stable at all. I'm actually gaining even more clarity as I talk through this with you guys today, which is why I love this podcast, honestly, because I imagine that you're gaining the same clarity in your own lives as well. Like, I imagine us working through this together. I realized just now that when my career was going well back then, I knew that my marriage was suffering. I knew that it's not what it once was. But I wasn't making the time to work on it, and neither was my husband. We were both leaning away from the necessary work instead of into each other. And thinking about it now, I know that the more my business would have thrived, the worse my marriage would have become. Not only because my time would have been more consumed by the business I was building, but also because we would have grown in opposite directions, further and further apart, and less likely to repair. So I don't know what higher power you believe in, God, the universe. I believe in both. But through my strengthened faith this past year, I believe that God gave me a redirection. He knew that my foundation was weak and not able to sustain the plans that I have for my life and my business because I was turning a blind eye to it. That pain was a gift that forced me to see it, to acknowledge it. That's the clarity that I experienced from turning 39 and looking back on the past year. And since I received the gift of that pain, I have grown as a person. I have strengthened my faith. I have leaned into repairing childhood traumas. And by the way, I think every single one of us has at least one of those, by the way, just varying degrees of. And this isn't to bash our parents. I'm a parent. We acknowledge that they did the best they could with what they knew at the time. And that's the same that I'm doing with my boys today. But I've grabbed books to help me repair those things instead of another business development book, right? Like I've been doing the uncomfortable work to strengthen my foundation. And my husband and I have attended marriage counseling. We joined a marriage small group through church, which we never even started attending church together until all of this pain began, until last fall, by the way. My boys are witnessing a pretty awesome example of a marriage of love, of forgiveness, of putting God first. And these are just some of the things the gift of that pain has done for me in my personal life. In my professional life, it's opened my eyes to an entirely new fashion that I'm really excited about. It led me to self-publishing my first guided journal with all of the prompts that helped me create the mindset shifts that were allowing me to keep fighting every day through that tough season. And creating that journal was a process that I realized I enjoyed so much, even with all the hiccups that I'm still dealing with. Another episode to come on that. That I know that this is the start of something huge that feels so incredibly aligned with who I am. And by the way, I am waiting on that draft copy of that journal to be delivered so that I can make sure it's ready for you guys. So stay tuned for the release dates on that. There's a wait list in the show notes if you want to pause and go do that real quick. But also, this is where we get into the realization that the pain was not just about me. This is where I escaped the self-pity party and saw the more beautiful, bigger picture. Because the change I've seen in my husband is incredible. The pain that led me to church, that led me to strengthen my faith and my relationship with God, and then led him to church with me as we started to repair, in turn, strengthening his faith, which led to this transformation in him that I know I'm the only one who will really ever see the full magnitude of because I live with him. But it's just incredible. It's his personal journey and not for me to share the details of, but I'm just so proud of him and excited for him and where else he goes with this. So he had to go through something too. And it led to a pain that brought me to something that I had to go through too. And I'm so grateful I'm able to see it that way now. It's much easier to see God's plan when you look back on it than when you're in the thick of it, right? But in all this, it's given me a faith to sooner in the struggle realize that I can trust him. So in the universe or whoever your higher power is, that he is not done with me, that I don't need to throw a self-pity party that will keep me from who I am meant to become in the challenges that I face, that blocks me from the lessons that I'm meant to learn, right? These podcast episodes this past year, if you've been a long-time listener, we really did go on a journey together, didn't we? And as I think back to my first episode at age 38, I don't even want to go back and listen, but I know the stage of life that I was in that moment. I know the struggle, the thick of the struggle that I was in. And so as I think back to my first episode at age 38 and now my first episode at age 39, we've come a long way, right? And I would be lying if I said I never thought about deleting some of those episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, you actually even saw me cry a few times. But I've only thought about doing that for brief moments. And then I realized that that was my truth. Because Elevate with Erica was never about look at me up here on my pedestal, listen to my 10-step plan for how to make your life as amazing as mine. This has always been a come with me journey. Let's figure this out together. Let's get through life together. Let's elevate to our next level together, right? Not elevate like Erica, but elevate with Erica. So I'm not embarrassed of the pits in my life that led me to the biggest elevations of my life, the best redirects, the best pivots. I handled that struggle in the best way that I knew how to. And that was to continue showing up as authentically as possible, considering what I do for a living. I was in a season where I did not know how to show up. And so I just stayed true and did my best. And I remember messaging friends both in and out of the business that I'm in during that time, honestly, I was really hoping that they had some magic answer for me. And I was telling them that I didn't know how to continue to build my business that was based on authenticity and transparency and bringing people along in my journey to inspire them in their own while carrying all the pain that I was experiencing in my personal life over a situation that wasn't appropriate to share. So I'm talking about pain that made it difficult for me to get out of bed every day, hence the creation of my guided journal coming soon. So, how can I pretend that that wasn't happening? Everyone was telling me to compartmentalize. And I think I even did an episode on that too, because I was really trying. I know I didn't do it very well, but I had to keep my business afloat and just push down the pain some days. Looking back, I know that I was changing. I was becoming someone new in a private, personal way, but in a very public setting. And I struggled to figure out how to be authentic in that season. And it showed in my podcast episodes, it showed in my social media presence, which is where my business primarily takes place as I became less and less consistent in post. But I was being pretty honest in my stories. I was being honest and showing up less at the same time, which to me felt more aligned with who I am rather than showing up with a happy face on social media and then ugly crying the rest of the day. A lot of you came on quite a ride with me. And as I begin another trip around the sun, I just want to thank you for that. I think I've created the deepest connections on social media because I shared as honestly as I could while still respecting the privacy of my husband and of my marriage. And I lost nearly 5,000 followers since that painful pit last year. And honestly, that feels so incredibly good because I feel like I shed the weight of people who weren't following me for the right reasons, people who aren't aligned with my message and where we are headed as a community here. We are constantly looking for ways to elevate our life together. And that requires us to embrace the highs and the lows and see the blessings and lessons in both of them, right? So my life will never, ever be a collage of perfectly curated little squares. I'm so much more than that. We are so much more than that. And I'm grateful to have the people here today who are meant to come along with me as we create our imperfect, always improving, beautiful life together. I know that when we are willing to lean into that, we can affect everyone around us in such inspirational ways. When we are willing to show how to keep getting back up, how to keep growing, how to keep fighting for our beautiful life, the impact that we can have is so incredibly powerful. And I want this podcast to help you do that. So think about a painting. And this came to my mind as I was thinking up what the show was going to be about today, what I wanted to share. And I thought about a painting. What's more beautiful? One with one flat matte color or one with depth and character and all different colors and shades of those colors. And what it's like one of those paintings that you have to kind of stand back from to really get lost in, right? It's captivating. That's the kind of life that I'm creating. And I'm here for those of you here that want to do that with me, alongside me. So thank you for allowing me the space to share the depth of who I am, not just the surface layer, for being here through all the in-between seasons of my life. And in turn, I hope you know that I'm rooting for you in all your peaks and valleys and the gritty climbs too, the in-between seasons. So here we go. Another trip around the sun for me and another opportunity for us to learn and grow and elevate together. And honestly, I'm excited because if I can see the pain I went through this past year as a gift, I know that no matter the highs or lows in front of me, that there are lessons to be had and they are making space for my growth. And in those, I can inspire someone else in their imperfect journey too. We both can. Everything is either an opportunity to grow or an obstacle to keep you from growing, and you get to choose. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm with you. And don't forget that you can now text me any takeaways from the show today or just anything at all that you want to share with me. Just head over to the show notes. Also, it means the world to me and the success of this show when you take the time to leave a rating and review and go share this episode on your social media if you think someone else needs to hear this too. Tag me so I can personally thank you. Until next episode, friends. E.
Are you ready to make a change? Are you ready to feel alive and excited again? The time is now to improve your life and achieve consistency through the help of the world's greatest teachers, digital tools, and a supportive community. It's super hard to have consistent days of a great mindset, right? Don't try to do it alone. I know an app that will serve you up a daily audio clip to fire up your energy. I know an app that will teach you how to feel joy and excitement in your life again. I know an app with tools that will unlock a happier, more productive you. Stop spending all your time reacting to life and get in the driver's seat. I'm offering you the #1 tool in the world for personal growth, Growth Day. If you want to live a fun, energized life, this is for you. I'm so proud of you for making it through these last few years. They've been rough on so many of us. But it's time. It's time to dust that off and live again. You deserve it. Check the show notes for an exclusive link to join me in the Growth Day app.